The Calgary Flames open the Zach Whitecloud era with a 2-1 overtime loss tonight to the New Jersey Devils. Welcome to Afterburner. My name is Robert Munnich, or as some of you know me as Bobby Germany. And tonight I am with the godfather of Flames Nation himself, Kent Wilson. Kent, welcome to the program. Very exciting to get to do this with you tonight. Although the game was not all that exciting, if we're being totally honest, but we're going to grind through it. We're going to break it down regardless. And Afterburner is a presentation of our friends at Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the code NATION. And if you want to get your comment read out or shown on the screen tonight, send in a super chat. Proceeds from our super chats go to the Youth Centers of Calgary. Youth Centers of Calgary is a place where kids are welcomed and accepted as they are, a place where they can get a break from the chronic stress that is the reality for many of their lives and can flourish through connection and fun. Kent, I have a feeling that the rest of the Calgary Flames season is going to look a lot like what we just saw tonight. It's going to be low event. There's not going to be a whole heck of a lot of scoring chances, and the Flames are probably going to get some good goaltending. I mean, they showed a stat there at the end of the game. The Calgary Flames have now played 15 games where they score 1 goal or less, which is third last in the NHL, which isn't great. I just want to get kind of your initial thoughts on what you thought of tonight's game.
Yeah, like you say, very low event. I called the first 20 minutes or the first period 20 minutes of cardio. That was just two teams skating up and down the ice. There may
100%.
have been 1 or 2 scoring chances. The Flames had 3 shots on net. And I'm sure that's what the Calgary's coaching staff is going for. They can't get into, races with other teams. They don't have the talent to go toe to toe. So yeah, they're going to make it a slog. They're going to make it difficult. And they did that pretty well tonight, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, that game got off to such a slow start. Between the Flames and Devils in the first 8 minutes, they had 1 shot combined, which was not great. Some of the notes that I made in the first period was I actually thought Zach Whitecloud got off to a pretty solid start, especially when you consider the circumstances of him coming into tonight's game. He's had no time to learn systems. He's had really no time to get to know teammates and build chemistry and all that kind of stuff. So I thought that he got off to a pretty solid start. And the one guy, particularly in the first period, who really stood out to me from a Flames perspective was Adam Klapka. I find with Klapka, when he's old, he's got a pretty intriguing skill set and size. I'd just be kind of curious what you think of Adam Klapka.
Yeah, he's been playing some pretty good hockey lately, and played better than some of the more decorated veterans. Let's put it that way. I would say,
Definitely.
like I said, halfway through this game, I'd play Klapka over Huberdeau right now.
Yeah,
and you're right. He's not just crashing and banging. Sometimes you get guys who are kind of fringe NHLers for a long time. If they're big and they're playing in the bottom 6, they kind of get sort of typecast. So they feel like they have to run around, they have to drop the gloves, they have to try to hurt people, that sort of thing, because that's kind of the role. But you see him trying other things. He skates pretty well for a man his size. He does have hands. And yeah, he has that absolute wicked snapshot so yeah, I liked him. I like Connor Zary tonight. He's showing some of those stick skills that he was known for previously as a rookie, and we hadn't seen much of this year. So a little bit of swagger to his game, which is nice. And then, yeah, like you said, Whitecloud looked really comfortable right out of the gate. Just came as advertised, played a no nonsense. I think he may have led the team in ice time up until OT, which is a nice first game for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And when it comes to Connor Zary, over the last 23 games, I believe he's got 17 or 18 points, which is second on the team in scoring. And you compare that to 4 points through his first 26 games. He's really starting to turn his game around. And you mentioned we started to see like a little bit of that confidence kind of come through in the first period. He had a couple shifts there where he was dangling through everybody. It didn't really lead to anything, unfortunately, but at least we saw the hands and we saw some confidence back from Connor Zary. And then we hit the second period. Once again, it kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start. The Flames get on the power play. They don't do a whole heck of a lot with it. Yegor Sharon got smoked by Brendan Dillon. It was
that should have been a penalty. That was a very obvious headshot.
It was pretty high. It was pretty high. In Brendan Dillon, that guy is fierce. So yeah, that was a big hit that Sharon Govich took. But then We do get a Devils goal. It's a face-off win for the New Jersey Devils. They do some decent work.
Overcommitment from Sharangovich on that play. He sort of follows his check
Massive.
out of the zone and leaves Hamilton all alone. So that's where all that space came from.
Yeah, so a defensive breakdown leads to New Jersey's first goal of the night, and then we head on over to the Flames goal. Hearing about from Matvei Gridin, like quite honestly, who else on the Flames can make a pass like these? And I don't think this Flames team has scored a ton of nice goals this year, so that was kind of nice to see. But I think that whole play kind of stems from Matvei Gridin making that high end pass. I mean, like I said, he's probably the only guy on the roster right now who can make a play like that. And I think it's important that he's in the lineup to do those types of things. And, even if he's young and even if he doesn't have like a massive impact on the game every shift, every time he's on the ice, he's still going to make those one or two offensive plays a game that lead to pretty high end scoring chances. I'd be curious to know, what have you thought of Gridin's game since being recalled and against the Islanders and then tonight against the Devils?
He hasn't stood out too much positively or negatively for me, which is saying something for a 19-year-old. Anytime I see him, I'm impressed by the package of skills, right? He skates really well. He's probably one of the better skaters on the team already as too. You can see the vision here and there. But there's so many guys who are struggling offensively on the roster right now anyways. It doesn't hurt to give him a look and let him get some legs.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And speaking of struggling, man, Mackenzie Weegar was fighting it tonight. That honestly, I mean, he's had a tough season and he's not played very well for the majority of the year. But tonight might have been the night when he was fighting the puck the most. What's going on with Weegar? Do you have any theories as to what's happened to him this year?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I haven't liked him much recently at all, leading up to tonight. And you're right, this one of his worst games, maybe in a Flames jersey so far.
Yeah.
I keep waiting for him to snap out of it because I've been a Weegar fan during most of his time here in Calgary. He's previously been very steady. He's also previously been much more effective offensively. Right now, the decision making doesn't really seem to be there. Mistakes are always ending up in the net behind him, but he's making a lot of mistakes. There was just a ton of them tonight. Fans, bad passes, missed assignments. He's just struggling, in every department of his game right now. So he's 32. I'm not going to say this is the beginning of a decline necessarily, but it's they'll definitely want him to rebound next year. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, do they ever? The thing, I'm not concerned like you, because I would say for even dating back to his days in Florida, the last 5 or 6 years, he's been a very steady, consistent defenseman, top pairing guy, very reliable. So he did it for a long time. And this has been, a little over half a season of poor play for him. So I'm not ready to jump ship on the guy or anything like that. But yeah, it is kind of tough to watch these days. And I almost find that it's almost like Rasmus Andersson and Mackenzie Weegar have just swapped places from last year to this year. What we're seeing from Weegar is pretty similar to what we're seeing from Andersson last season when he was turning pucks over and he was not making very smart decisions and he was having defensive lapses.
Score.
Couldn't score to save his life. And I just feel like now Weegar's got that right now. And if both guys were going at the same time, I do wonder, if they could have made the playoffs last year. I think they probably would have. And I almost wonder where they'd be in the standings now. Would they be right around the wild card if both their top defensemen were playing at the height of their game right now? I wonder if Weegar is almost like a little bit of a tank commander this year for this group.
Yeah, it certainly hasn't helped, but there's so much else going on with the team, right? So you've got Nazem Kadri going cold for 6 weeks. He scored tonight finally to break out of it, but he had a really rough run up the 13 games without a goal, I think it was. Jonathan Huberdeau, we just talked about, he's been absent for almost 2 months now. The Flames, I'd say they top out at the team they were last year at around 90 to 96 points, whatever the cutoff is. So maybe if you have everyone playing at the top of their game, it's possible, but it's better long term that didn't happen. Let's be frank.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. We will move on to the third period. We kind of kick things off with Dougie Hamilton. He has a bit of a high hit on Morgan Frost, and we're not going to show it here. Frost got up right away, and he was back out in the power play, but the Flames did go to the power play, didn't do anything with it again. That's kind of one of my main takeaways from tonight is, once again, the power play is struggling. This, in my opinion, like this Flames team, they're not going to be able to score a lot of goals at 5-on-5. If they are going to score, they're really going to have to take advantage of their power plays, and it just has not really been happening all season. I mean, we've seen bursts here and there, like in Columbus and Chicago a couple of games ago, but overall, man, that power play is tough to watch.
Yeah, unfortunately, the reason they don't have a great 5-on-5 offense is the reason they don't have a great power play either. It's just you need talent, and you especially need guys like Huberdeau, who should be feasting even at, he's only 30, 31 at this point. He is a guy who should be doing more, way more on the power play, and it just isn't there. But Matthew Coronado's kind of struggling on the power play. I think he was their top scorer on the power play at least last year, and he's not getting looks. So yeah, it's stagnant. It's probably not going to improve, at least this year.
You bring up Matt Coronado, and I was kind of thinking about him during the game tonight, and I was just like, can he not get back to the November version of Coronado? Like, do you remember that streak for about 3 weeks there where he was getting like 4+ shots on net? Yeah. Like where is that guy? Like, if Coronado is going to be an effective player in this league, I think he's got to get back to that shooting mentality. We just really haven't seen it over the last probably month, 6 weeks here.
Yeah, it's been tough because the entire sort of top six went cold starting in sometime in December, right? That's where Backlund and Coleman started to score and was sort of floating the team a little bit. But then that's when Kadri, Huberdeau, Frost, Farabee, and then Coronado was playing up in the top six at the same time too. And that entire crew just went ice cold. And then they started shuffling things around now. And Coronado had a bit of a run with Backlund and Coleman, but yeah, he's still not finding space. He's still not getting into soft areas, and he's certainly not getting the shots he needs to get to be effective.
Yeah, and that shot it's deadly when he can get it off. So you hope he can kind of get back to that. We'll talk a little bit about the rest of the third period, but first we want to tell you about our friend Derek Newman at the Derek Newman Group with CIR Realty. Buying or selling, let Derek do the work for you. Email Derek at dnewman@cirrealty.ca or call 403-619-6661 or visit dereknewmangroup.com. Derek is known for building strong relationships and lasting friendships with clients. He's fun, he's friendly, he's easy to work with, and people genuinely love working with him. Lots of clients mention that they are sad when their deal is wrapped up because they'll get to miss talking to him every day. And I know Cammie's been, used Derek Newman Group with her real estate sale and had nothing but great things to say. And Derek's also a big Flames fan, big Afterburner fan. So be sure to reach out to Derek if you're interested in buying or selling your home in the greater Calgary area. Call Derek Newman at 403-619-6661, and he'll make it easy for you. Let Derek put his network to work for you. We'll kind of finish up talking about the third period here. I wanted to bring up Devin Cooley. And Jack, if you could roll some of the saves that he made tonight. I personally thought Cooley was the best player on the ice. New Jersey had quite a few high danger chances, and Cooley completely shut
for another backup. And then, before Wolf collapsed in a heap, they had to play him, and he's been great. He's been great ever since. So good on him.
I'm curious to get your thoughts on what do you think the goaltending split should look like for the rest of the season? Because I mean, Dustin Wolf's been getting the vast majority of the starts. Do you think it's time to maybe give Wolf a little bit of a rest and start playing Cooley more?
Yes, to some degree, I'd leave it up to the player a little bit. Wolf's young, and he is going to be your starter of the future. But they certainly shouldn't do like the 7 and 10 game in a row thing. You're you're risking, burnout or an injury for no good reason because the team's not going to win anything. They're not going to make the playoffs. So, leave it in his court a little bit. Say, how do you feel? But 3 or 4 games in a row, and then you spell them off. Just be reasonable about it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Like in terms of like a percentage split, I'm almost thinking it should be like 65-35, maybe 60-40 as we get on in the season. Because, like you said, there's really no point in putting Dustin Wolf out there 5-6 games in a row. I mean, you're so far out of the playoffs. Your team you're not going to make the playoffs. So, what's the point of riding Dustin Wolf into the ground this year? I don't really think it makes sense. And Devin Cooley, he's earned it. I mean, his numbers are spectacular. I mean, Cooley's, by the numbers, has been quite a bit better than Dustin Wolf this year. He's been a lot more consistent, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Cooley's going to get some more starts here.
I think he will.
Later, I'd say in the last 6 or 7 minutes of that game in the third period, it just felt like both teams were just trying to get that thing to overtime. Hey, just nothing was happening. Just no scoring chances, no risks.
He sure got his breakaway, and then that was it. After that, dump it in, dump it out, wait for OT.
And they got to OT, and the Calgary Flames, they start Nazem Kadri, Joel Farabee, and Mackenzie Weegar on the ice to start 3-on-3. What do you think of that trio starting 3-on-3?
The baffling decision. I didn't understand it at all. I mean, I'm sort of rebuild tank guy, so that they lost, I'm like, no, all right. But if you're trying to win the game, not the three guys I go with, given the way they've performed recently. Kadri did score tonight. That's nice, but and they got run out of the ring the entire time.
Totally. I think they barely touched the puck. I think the only time they touched the puck was when Mackenzie Weegar turned it over on the game winner here. And and it wasn't
noticeable.
Wasn't even close. And I kept thinking to myself the whole time, I'm like, wouldn't it be nice if we could watch a guy like that on a nightly basis in Calgary?
Yeah, someday we will.
Someday.
Don't know when, but it'll happen.
I don't know when it's going to happen either.
All the Flame skaters about to say we're, a minute 30 into a shift there. So the longer they kept it in the zone, the more inevitable that outcome became.
Yeah, and you know what? When the Calgary Flames get to 3-on-3 overtime, especially against a team with the firepower like the Devils have, they don't stand a chance. They're not fast enough. They're not skilled enough, and especially when you're going against guys like Jack Hughes and Jesper Bratt and Timo Meier and Nico Hischier. I mean, all these guys are more skilled than anybody on the Calgary Flames right now. And to start 3-on-3, you and I are both on the same page in terms of team tank and all that kind of stuff. I would have loved to have seen Hunter Brstevich get a chance, or Matvei Gridin get a chance in overtime. You're putting out Farabee, who's ice cold lately. Kadri, who's been playing terrible, and I get that he scored tonight, but even I thought he struggled once again, and Mackenzie Weegar just had a miserable evening.
Awful night. Yeah,
really, really.
Well, and
bad.
You've got Michael Backlund playing some of his best hockey, even at 36. You've got Connor Zary, who's dancing guys, and again playing some of his best hockey in the last 12 months. Matvei Gridin, who has great skills and probably might be the fastest forward on the team. So there was, other options, I would say. And and Mackenzie Weegar playing terrible hockey. I would have gone with Whitecloud or even Ball, who I thought had a pretty good game again too.
Yeah, he's been good all year. I've been super impressed with Kevin Ball this season. You mentioned Whitecloud there. I guess just what were your overall thoughts of his game in general tonight as he makes his debut for the Flames?
Just played, within himself. He never stood out as a problem. Pretty good first pass. He's actually pretty mobile too, which is nice. I liked him the entire night. I think the coaching staff did too, because they were putting him out pretty frequently. So I don't know if he's a long-term piece here. Probably not, just given where they're at. But that does look like a player they can flip for a nice return.
Oh yeah, 100%. And we'll get into that a little bit more when we talk about the Rasmus Andersson trade coming up here. The last guy I just wanted to ask you about was Jonathan Huberdeau. We all know it's been another tough year for him. Would you say this is the worst hockey he's played as a Flame? And I mean, that's kind of saying something.
Probably the last, as I said, for like 6 weeks or so. And I didn't mind Huberdeau when he came back from injury earlier in the year. He kind of came back and gave a little pop to the roster. He was scoring at a pretty nice rate for a little while, and then it tailed off, and now it's absolutely disappeared. Right now he doesn't do anything at all. He's I notice him when he gives the puck away. That's literally it. I put him on the fourth line personally at this point.
I would too. I mean, the thing that drives me nuts with him is that just plays are dying on his stick, and
all the time.
His skill set, his specialty is playmaking. It's passing. It's finding teammates in open positions, putting them in great positions to score. He's done nothing like that this year.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. The playmaking is gone. It's completely
Yeah.
gone. I have no idea what happened to it because in Florida, I think coming into Calgary, he was only behind Connor McDavid in terms of the most assists in the National Hockey League the previous, I think it was 4 seasons before coming to Calgary. And he's just disappeared. And the other aspect of his game that I think is wild that's fallen off is 3-on-3 in the power play. Coming into Calgary, he was one of the best 3-on-3 players in the National Hockey League. You take a look at his point production at 3-on-3; it was right up there with your McDavids and Dreisaitl's and McKinnons. And he tonight he doesn't even get a shift out there. He rarely plays in 3-on-3. And then the power play. I mean, just you would think he would still have, like, even if he slows down a bit or physically, if he's not quite the player he once was when he was 25, you'd still think like the vision would be there and the hands would be there. But even that just seems to have kind of disappeared with him, which is super disappointing. But hopefully he'll be able to get it back at some point here.
I don't know. I wouldn't bet on that.
I think it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Before we dive into some Rasmus Andersson trade talk here, we'll dive into the road ahead. So we're taking a look at the schedule for the Calgary Flames. And if you're a hockey fan in the city of Calgary, we got some fantastic games and superstars coming to town here. On Wednesday night, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, the Pittsburgh Penguins are at the Dome. On Friday, it's Alexander Ovechkin coming to the Dome. Sunday, you get to watch a fun, young, upstart Anaheim Duck team. I know they don't have Leo Carlsson in the lineup, but they still got their Cutter Gauthier and Mason McTavish. And then on the then they do like a random 1-game road trip to Minnesota, which is kind of strange. And then they're back on Saddledome Ice, taking on the San Jose Sharks, and you get to see Macklin Celebrini, who is a special hockey player. I mean, what can you say about this guy, man?
He should win the Hart this year.
100%. He's right in the mix. I mean, the thing that drives me nuts about the Hart is that the definition of the Hart is the most valuable to their team, but that never really seems to be applied when it comes to the winner. I mean, the 1 year when Taylor Hall won, I thought that was very just because he's the sole reason that team got in the playoffs. And right now it's Macklin Celebrini. He's the driving force behind the Sharks, and he's getting some help. The San Jose Sharks acquired Kiefer Sherwood today for 2 second-round picks and a prospect. I think he's going to be a really nice addition in that team. But yeah, over the next 4 home games here for the Calgary Flames, you got some really good players coming to town. And then even just before the Olympic break, you got the Toronto Maple Leafs and Edmonton Oilers coming on the Monday and Wednesday before the Flames take their about 3-week Olympic break here. So get out to the Saddledome. I mean, I know the Flames are in a rebiggle, and I know things aren't all that exciting around them, but man, there's some excellent hockey players coming to town here. So be sure to get out to the Dome. And the road ahead is a segment brought to you by Platinum Mitsubishi, family owned and operated by lifelong Calgarians. The 2025 model year clearout is on at Platinum with incredible deals available on all remaining 2025 RVR, Eclipse Cross, and Outlander PHEV models. Take advantage of up to $10,000 in savings and 0% financing available on select vehicles, but only while 2025 model inventories last. The Outlander PHEV is Canada's best-selling plug-in hybrid SUV, Japanese quality and craftsmanship at incredible prices with a standard 10-year powertrain warranty at Platinum Mitsubishi. 2720 Barlow Trail. Why don't we get into a little bit of Rasmus Andersson talk here? I know, like, on Warmies, I've been kind of talking about it quite a bit, but let's get your opinion on it. First of all, I guess just what did you make of the return overall for Craig Conroy and the Flames?
It annoyed me that it was Vegas again, to tell you the
Right.
truth, because they're the most spoiled franchise in the NHL. But when I sat up with it for a little while, I think I like it. They got a first and a second, maybe 2 firsts if they win the cup this year. Whitecloud, as we saw tonight, is also a flippable asset. We don't know if they'll do that, but it would make a lot of sense. So they could be getting 3 or 4 high quality future assets here, and then Weeb is long shot to be anything. Probably going to be an AHLer next year, but nice little throw in. So given the circumstances that Andersson came out and said, I'm not signing anywhere, That's probably the best Conroy could have done.
Yeah, I think so too. And Elliot Friedman today, he was on the radio and he was talking about how Luke Shen got a second and a fourth round pick for the Penguins last year, and he had said that he thinks Whitecloud could potentially have even more value than that, which does make sense. And he's got 2 years left on his deal. He doesn't make a lot of money, and
Yeah.
as we saw tonight, I mean, he's a really good defensive player, and he can move, and he's I think he's smart. He's got a good stick, and he's a very good defensive player, and I think any contending team could use a guy like that. So if the Flames do end up flipping him, which I think is the smart thing to do, who knows what the Flames are going to end up doing with him. But then all of a sudden that trade package could look like a first, 2 seconds and a fourth along with Weeb. And all of a sudden you get 5 pieces for a pending UFA and Andersson. I mean, I think that could be pretty good.
Yeah, and speaking of the Sharks, they could probably use someone like Whitecloud because they have all the young firepower in the world, but their blue line is pretty atrocious. So
yeah,
a
it's a
guy like
Klingberg
Whitecloud, yeah, it's pretty ugly. So I think Whitecloud could do a lot of good for them.
I mean, he could do a lot of good for a lot of teams that
A
the
lot of
Flames are talking
teams.
to. Yeah, I mean, whether it's
Yeah.
Boston or Dallas or whoever you want to throw in the mix. Yeah, he's a really good player. One thing I was thinking about during the game, so Rasmus Andersson, obviously he's a much better offensive player than Zach Whitecloud is, but in terms of overall defense, do you almost think it's like a wash between the two players, or do you think Andersson was like clearly a better defensive player than Whitecloud?
Probably not clearly a better player. I'm going to have to see Whitecloud for a while, assuming he sticks around, just because it's hard to compare across teams. I know that when Ball came around and Weegar struggled out of the gate last year, they kind of flipped the roles because previously Weegar had been sort of the hard minutes defenseman here in Calgary, and then they put Andersson and Ball into that role, and Andersson really struggled with that last year, and then they both kind of got better. Mostly got better this year, although the entire team's been struggling defensively for a little bit. But yeah, I'm gonna have to see how Whitecloud handles his role here in Calgary. But he looks, first impressions, one game is not a lot, but he looks incredibly steady. And he obviously won't be taking certain risks that Anderson would be more comfortable with. But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we'll see.
The one thing about the Rasmus Andersson deal I think I was most excited about, and this may sound terrible, but was the fact that without Andersson on this roster, the Flames were going to struggle. Like they're going to fall off a cliff. I think Andersson's been by far their best player this year. He's touched every single aspect of the game, offense, defense, special teams, you name it. So I thought in a trade that, if they didn't bring anybody back to replace those minutes, I was like kind of rubbing my hands. I'm like, yes, like this is going to be awesome. They're definitely going to finish in the bottom 3 this year, but I'm almost wondering, does Zach Whitecloud, if they keep him beyond the deadline, and I kind of have a feeling they will, does that put a dent into Calgary's tank aspirations, or do you think they're still going to be finishing the bottom 5 even with a guy like him?
Maybe a little bit, but their struggle, where they really struggle, is offense, right? So they just lost their, Andersson was third on the team in scoring. They have almost no offense from the back end at this point without him. We'll see what Zayne does when he gets back to the NHL. Mackenzie Weegar is having a miserable offensive season, as we've already said. So there's really not a lot of firepower coming from the blue line at this point, and the Flames need all the firepower they can get. So we'll see who else they trade. Obviously, Coleman and Kadri and maybe even Whitecloud could be on the auction block too. And the other thing with the Flames is they've been very healthy this year, like one of the healthiest teams in the league.
It's been like that for a long time, hey?
Yeah, the last several years, it's almost nobody gets injured, and if they do, like Coleman or Huberdeau, they're only out for a couple of weeks. So it's funny. Hansek's obviously been down, Pospisil, but these are kind of support players at best, right? So
Yeah,
we'll see if any of these guys take some time off once once we get into March and stuff. But yeah, I think the offense is just like last year. Again, will be kind of what keeps them down in the standings.
Do you have any sort of like feeling or inclination as to whether they are going to move Whitecloud? And if they do end up keeping him beyond the deadline, what do you think that means for guys like Perek and Brstevich? Because if Whitecloud does stay beyond the deadline, him and Weegar are your right side guys every single night. And then you have Pahal on the right side as well. And then you got Brstevich and Parekh. It's like, how do you fit these guys in and give them the appropriate ice time, especially for a guy like Parekh that has to play?
Yeah, if they don't move Whitecloud, they're going to have to move someone. There's too many bodies here. Brstevich, they can move down. They can demote to the AHL. But that would be a move of convenience, and it's probably something a rebuilding team shouldn't do, especially long term. He looks like an NHLer now, and they need him to take more strides. Correct, they can't send down anywhere. He's here for the rest of the year, so you're going to have to get rid of a Pahal or a Hanley or someone just to fit all these guys and get them minutes, right?
Yeah, I mean, those guys should be on the trading block regardless.
Yes.
I really wonder just what Huska's plan is for Parekh here. I worry that we're basically coming on the precipice here of a completely lost season for Parekh. I mean, you can tell Huska doesn't trust him. By the comments Zayne made at the World Juniors talking about how he has no confidence and how this year has been. Like, I think he told some reporters down at the Wranglers that this year's been a messed up season. Like that was his quote, a messed up season. Between the logjam on the right side and Huska maybe not trusting him and Parekh himself maybe not being totally ready for the NHL game. Like I was at the Wranglers game on Sunday for Zayne Parekh's debut, and I mean he admitted himself. He said he wasn't happy with his game, and I would agree. I mean he turned the puck over a bunch. He was missing a ton of passes. He was losing battles, and I see that at the AHL level, and I'm wondering, like, if Ryan Huska's watching this game, what's he going to do with this guy? I mean, I really think that they should do everything they can to play Parekh a bunch, play him with Kevin Ball, give him ice time, give him reps, like let him learn, deal with the mistakes because the mistakes will happen, but he's too important a piece, to be screwing around with like this. So I'm going to be really curious after the Olympic break, what the heck they're going to do with this guy. I mean, what would you do if you were in Ryan Huska's shoes? What would you do with Parekh?
It's tough, right? Because I did write about this a couple weeks ago for Post Media, and my point was this is a completely unconventional player. Like, he is exceptional, not only in terms of a high end talent, he's just a weird hybrid rover player. Like, this is a guy who raises pulses for defensive minded coaches, right? He takes risks, he plays the game in a totally different way, sees the game in a totally different way. So a conventional development path for Parekh isn't going to work. Um, the player and the team have to work together to find something that does work, though. It's going to have to be in the middle of just letting him do whatever he wants, because that, bad habits can form. You can, make a player who's can't be developed over time if you just let him do whatever he wants for a few seasons. But you also got to let him make mistakes. You can't sort of crush the flower of what this player is, right? To try to make him more conventional. Because if you make him more conventional, you destroy what makes him special. And if you do that, you don't have any other blue chip prospects on this team right now. So he is the kind of guy who could be a cornerstone talent, but you got to be careful in overcoaching him in the first year or two, because you're scared of the defensive miscues and the mistakes he's definitely going to make. With that, if you can do it properly, the offensive upside is astronomical.
Yeah, I mean, if they can tap into that potential, I see him being, like a 65, 75 point guy in the NHL and being an elite power play quarterback, which could be a huge piece for the future. But the thing that kind of confuses me, though, a little bit is it does seem like there's a lot of concern from the Flames, especially the coaching staff, about the way he plays. And then also you had his comments too, but he's talking about how there needs to be more personality in the league, and some of these guys are robots in front of the cameras and all that kind of stuff. And it didn't sound like that went over well with the organization. And I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, then why did you draft him? Like, you knew what you were getting with this guy. You knew you were getting a guy who takes a lot of risks, who's not going to be good defensively, and who does have a personality. He's a super confident kid, which is great. You knew what you were getting with him, but now all of a sudden it kind of feels like the team is almost like backing off and being like, well, we don't like this. We don't like this. Well, it's like, well, if you don't like it, then why did you draft him in the first place? That's the part that's kind of confusing me right now when it comes to this kid.
Well, the issue with NHL organizations and any organization actually is that it's not a hive mind and it's not a monolith. So you can have a scout really like a guy, a GM really like a guy, and a defensive coach or a coach not really like a guy once he
Mhm.
gets into the NHL, right? You see it all the time where, a team drafts someone, they gets to the NHL level, and the coach says, nope, it just doesn't work out. It happens. I mean, they've got Matvey Michkov right now in Philadelphia having a massive sophomore slump. Doesn't seem to see eye to eye with their coach, and that stuff happens all the time, unfortunately. So that said, the team has a lot on the line with this player, and either they have to find a way to develop him into the superstar that he can and should be, or they need to move him before you get a Sam Bennett situation where he's
Mhm.
in the organization for 5 to 6 years. He's a middle rotation player. All of the hype of the draft is gone, and you can move him for a second rounder, right? So
Yeah.
make commit to developing him or moving him. Don't don't lower his value to a second rounder.
Yeah, 100%. Are you the one that always posts like the Jack Hahn development
Yeah,
model? Can you maybe talk a little bit about that? Like, sorry if I'm putting you on the spot here, but I think
that's all
it's
right.
absolutely brilliant by him. Like, and then like how it potentially works its way in with Zayne Parek here.
Yeah, so Jack is a sort of a coach who's actually worked with the Toronto Maple Leafs. He worked in their prospect and development system for years. He's an independent guy now, but I read something from him probably a couple of years ago, and he talked about how he'd seen kids ruined by an overt focus on their weaknesses when they came up into the system, right? You get guys who were flawed in certain ways, and too much of the development was around trying to beat those flaws out of their game rather than leveraging and using their strengths to make them better NHLers. Now, obviously, you don't want to ignore or excuse deficiencies in games, but he said there was a lot of ruining of players' confidence or a destruction of the key parts of their games in aid of trying to make them better at the worst parts of their game. So
Mhm.
I think that's probably the major risk with Perret because he's not an all around player. He definitely has strengths and weaknesses to his game, and he's so unconventional in terms of the way he plays that even if he's providing tremendous value, you're going to have half the people who watch it go, "That guy drives me nuts." I mean,
Yeah.
that even happened during the World Juniors. He scored the most points of a defenseman in the tournament, and if you saw half the comments about any game involved with him, people said, "I hate him.
Mhm.
It's too many mistakes, too much defensive miscues." Even though, for my for me, he was one of the reasons Canada got a medal at all.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so he's a tough player. It's going to be interesting to see what happens this year and moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, like that development model you just talked about. I think Zane Parek is literally the perfect description for it.
Yeah,
Um, the one thing I would say too is if you're a Flames fan, I would almost be like a little careful about over analyzing his game. I almost think it's a little unfair to him. And I
yeah,
think one of the
he's
reasons
very
why,
young still,
oh,
right?
exactly. And I think one of the reasons why people are so fascinated with him is because the Flames, when was the last time they had a true, legit young star? I mean, Dustin Wolf looks like he could be that guy. Outside of that, it's probably been since what, Matthew Tkachuk, that
Matthew Tkachuk.
that the fans have really like been able to like get behind and be pumped about. And now when Zane Parek plays, everyone is focused on him because everybody wants to watch him do something special. But then, if he has a rough night or he does turn it over, all of a sudden people start commenting on it, like you were saying. The one thing I would say is just like when Zane Parek does come back up to the NHL, I do think Flames fans should be, you know, how would I describe it? Almost
Patient.
like, yeah, be very patient
Yeah.
and look for the good and understand that there will be some learning and there will be some pain with him. And don't jump all over him. If he has a brutal Evan Bouchard level turnover, maybe don't go on social media and just roast him for it. Like just understand like, hey, like he's a young player, he's going to learn, and try to like embrace the player for who he is, because I'm just like you said, like at the World Juniors, it was insane the amount of negativity around him. He was incredible at the World Juniors. Like, I'm watching this, I'm like, this is awesome. Yes, there's going to be plays where, he turns it over, or during the Czech game, there was that back check in the empty net game, in the empty net goal, where I know people were upset, and I was too. But once again, it's he does so much good on the offensive side that there will be some bad, and I would just say, yeah, be patient with him.
I mean, the team's not winning anything this year anyways. The stakes are very low. So if he's going to make mistakes at 19 years old in a year where if they finish at the bottom of the standings, good. So
yeah,
let him make mistakes.
This is the time to do it.
Exactly.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. You can watch Zayne Parek when he's back with the Calgary Flames at the Unicorn and the Unicorn on 4th. They have 2 locations, the Unicorn on 8th Avenue Southwest. It's Calgary's Super Pub, 3 floors, 3 bars, 1 destination, the Sports Cantina, all things sports, hockey, football, soccer, UFC, plus games like Golden Tee, Buck Hunter, pinball, darts, and more. Game day, $7 pints of Molson, and it's located in the heart of Stephen Avenue. They also have their Unicorn on 4th location right in the heart of Mission. It's on the corner of 20th Ave and 4th Street. They have daily specials, happy hour, and brunch on Saturday and Sunday. Maybe we'll kind of start to wrap things up here, Kent. But one thing, maybe just like where does just getting back to Rasmus Andersson and the trade, where does it rank for you in terms of the deals that Craig Conroy's made so far? I mean, I think I kind of put it almost in the middle. I don't think it was terrible. I don't think it was a home run like the Lindholm or Markstrom deals, but I thought it was pretty solid. So I think I'd put it in the middle. Where would you kind of rank it among Conroy's deals so far?
It's probably better than Hanifin or Tanev or Zadorov or any of those. Probably any of those, I'd put it above for sure. I kind of wish he'd gotten an asset for this upcoming draft. Couldn't do that, obviously, with trading with Vegas. Getting a high-end prospect would have been nice, but yeah, in the end, as we discussed, especially if they flip Whitecloud, it's going to be probably one of the better returns.
Yeah, I am right there with you. Jack, why don't we pull up our Bet365 bet of, well, I guess we're going to call it the week. So what we're going to be looking at here is next Sunday, the Seattle Seahawks are hosting the Los Angeles Rams in the NFC Championship game. This is the first NFC Championship game in Seattle since 2014, when they had that miracle game against the Green Bay Packers, when they had that just insane comeback and won in overtime. I got a feeling that the Seattle Seahawks, they're going to be able to pull this one out. The home field advantage was significant against the 49ers. That crowd is absolutely incredible. The Seahawks defense and special teams is spectacular. I think they're going to be able to pull this one out. So I would be looking at the Seahawks on the spread and on the money line as well. I just think that home field advantage is too much, and it's going to be tough for the LA Rams and Matt Stafford to get anything done when you literally can't hear. You really can't even hear yourself think in that stadium. So take a look at the Seahawks and Rams this weekend. Are you a football guy, Kent?
Not at all.
Not at all. Perfect.
I'll take your word for it. Go with him. Go with what he's saying.
And I got a feeling it's going to be another Seahawks Patriots Super Bowl. And I am a Seahawks fan, and that did not go very well in 2014. It's probably the most devastating sports moment of my fandom. So hopefully
maybe this time.
This time. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But that is brought to you by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get in on the game. Use the promo code NATION. Jack, do we have any super chats to read out here?
Nothing.
No super chats for the kids?
Oh, nothing.
No donations for the kids.
We've had a lot the last couple days with the Andersson trade, and so
that's fair. That's very fair.
Right.
Kent, any closing thoughts here on a Flames 2-1 loss in overtime?
Nope, just 30 odd more games of 2-1 losses, I think.
Yeah, I was telling Kent before this, the two teams that I cover at Nation Network are the Flames and Canucks right now. So my life is a living hell.
Which games are worse to watch?
Oh man, honestly, it's the Canucks.
Is it?
The Canucks are so bad. Like they play with no passion. They have a brutal coach in Adam Foote. They have no star players.
Coach. Yeah.
Pedersen makes me want to smash my head in just watching him and knowing that he makes 11-6. So
Are they
See, I hate the Canucks, so I like watching them lose.
But that man, they're quite the competition for the tank here. I don't think anybody's going to be able to.
They're going to win
this year.
Not even close.
Yeah, their coaching is too bad. It's awful.
It was a terrible move by them to hire Adam Foote. It was basically just a pander to Quinn Hughes. But Adam Foote has no business being a head coach in the NHL. Like his only experience as a head coach was in Kelowna, and he got fired like halfway through the season, and there were a ton of complaints about him. And then the Vancouver Canucks hire him as a head coach in the National Hockey League. What are we doing here?
And it immediately goes south, and then Quinn Hughes says, "Get me out of here." Yeah.
Totally. Rick Tocchet leaves. Like, oh my god, yeah. It's just that organization is
they got to burn it down.
Yep. Do they ever? Yeah. But they're just like the Flames. They love the murky middle, and their ownership wants to stay competitive. And I feel bad. I feel bad for Canucks fans.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, Jack, we'll wrap it up here. Thanks to everybody for watching. We really appreciate it. And this has been Afterburner after a Calgary Flames 2-1 loss in overtime.